A lot of students come to me feeling like they're not making a lot of progress or they've hit a wall. And a lot of times there's, I would say, a reoccurring trait with a lot of people that feel like they're stagnated and stuck. I think a lot of people practice improperly, and there's one key thing, several, but there's one key thing I'm going to focus on today that could be destroying your progress when you're practicing. Something to be very aware of, and that is noodling. I think a lot of times a lot of us practice and we kind of just noodle around the guitar neck, and we riff and we play things that we already know. We tend to not play things with a specific purpose in mind. So we're not really strengthening anything. We're kind of barely reinforcing what we already know. The key to consistent growth is to be challenging yourself just a little bit each time. You don't want to push too hard. You want to be a little bit of a challenge, but you don't want to feel out of reach. I know it's like there are a lot of times you pick up your instrument, you just feel like, I don't know, just hanging out and playing some stuff and zoning out. But it's really counteractive to, or counterproductive to your progress. This is where reading music comes in really handy. I feel like a lot of people will sit down and say, well, I don't know what to play. And I do encourage people to make lists of, I would say, just points that they're working on in their guitar playing. Maybe you're working on arpeggios, or you're working on a song, or you're trying to work on hammer-ons. All that's great, so that as you're practicing, you could segment your practice into 5-minute cuts, and that way you can make sure that you get a variety of workout on different skills during your practice time. But the thing about reading music is that not only does it make you connect your mind to your body, but it allows for an unlimited amount of resources when it comes to learning material and expanding your playing. I don't even pick up my guitar. Most of the times I pick up an instrument these days, I have a chart in front of me, and this is actually just a score I'm working on. I wrote, it's a bass score, but I pick this up and I will read it through, right? And I do it for many songs. I have many books, and real books, or pop books, or classical books, and I pick it up and maybe I only read through a couple of bars at a time, but I often try to make sure I'm reading something new. And if not, I'm trying to replay a passage a few times to get better at it. The point is, I'm not just playing songs that I already know and kind of zoning out and mindlessly playing as I'm watching TV or something. There's always a purpose, and I'm trying to push forward a little bit. And I know there's a bit of a resistance to read music. I've talked about this in other videos where I really encourage people to learn how to read music, because it forges. I see a note on the stave, say I see middle C. And I know I'm just going to imagine in my head when I see that note, I imagine where it is on the guitar, right? So I can think about immediately seeing that in the paper and being able to play it on the instrument. Right? And it allows me also to get a better visualization of the guitar. And sometimes I'm reading and doing this work without even having the instrument in my hands, because so much of the power is in your brain when playing, right? There's a certain amount of physical dexterity that you have to have, but once you reach that point that your fingers are doing what your mind is telling them to do, you really need to work through so much of it out in your brain, right? You need to be able to see where your fingers are supposed to go and hear what it's supposed to sound like without the instrument in your hands. So there are times where I do read through music and I try to audiate the sound, and I also try to imagine where my fingers would go for that instrument without it being in my hands. And then of course there's other times where I pick up the instrument and I'm sight reading. Now, sight reading and working on something are a little different. So it's working on something, meaning repeated practice on something you've already played. Sight reading is good because it's really testing your ability to, I guess in some ways, like problem solve in the moment, right? Just make sure that you're able to look at what's on the paper and imagine what it sounds like and play it on your instrument. But then of course reading music in a sense of spending some time and working it out and then analyzing it is a little bit of a different perspective, and you want to be working on both these tracks at the same time, right? Because you want to always make sure with your practice that you're leveling everything everything up, that there isn't one area of the instrument per se that you're working on more than another, right? So think about this. Next time you pick up your guitar, instead of just running through a box that you already know or a lick you already know, pop open a book of, Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin, maybe a riff, and read the riff down, right? And try to play it new. And even if you don't come back to it, it's fine. Just push yourself to be responding to new things in the moment and having to achieve them. It's just always need to be bringing fresh water into the pond, so to speak. We don't want to be stagnated. So gathering new information all the time is going to help keep you from getting stuck. So try to stop just endlessly or pointlessly noodling on your instrument or playing things that you've already played 1,000 times. Repeating those things over and over again are not going to make you a lot better. It just is not what causes or stimulates growth, right? New material will. And if you want to reach out to me, ask a few tips about learning how to read music, feel free. My website is anatomyoftone.com, and there's a contact page there, so you can reach out to me. I'm always happy to discuss music and give tips. If you like what you're seeing, please hit the subscribe button.